Regar here from Rigor's Garage and Boat Basin. Today we're talking about the garage. Got the assumption that you bought a house in Florida and right next door you own a quarter acre of jungle, and you're thinking, I could use a lot more room for my boat basin. How do I go about it? And I've got more time than money. So you're looking like where to start. It just seems so overwhelming. Just pick a place. Somewhere you'll find a path or a notch or something that sticks out in the yard that you don't like. Start there. Just start anywhere. Start picking up all the sticks and logs. You'll find trash. Any place that you find a jungle, you'll find trash, and the trash usually comes from the last big storm, a tropical storm, a hurricane, whatever, and you'll find lots of trash. Plus, you'll also find that some of your neighbors have helped you by dumping a little of their trash. Take and start putting this out. You'll find in the southern part of the U.S., the counties don't have much to do with snow plowing, so they pick up vegetation. Usually you put it in 40-gallon or 50-gallon barrels. I like the heavy-duty Rubbermaids. You put them out by the curb, and once a week they'll come and pick them up. Occasionally you can pile this stuff up, palm fronds, leaves, sticks, logs, all of these things, and you can put it right at the edge of the road, and they'll come along with a big truck with a little crane on it and pick all this stuff up. That's the place to start, and that's how to do it. Then what you do is you take your lawn tractor, jack the blade all the way up, and you start cutting up vegetation, small sticks, vines, everything. Cut it up, turn it into mulch. If you break the spindle on a tractor, just buy another spindle and put one in. Put new blades on it, and away you go. And over a period of time, you'll have a lot of ground up vegetation. Okay, so you're whacking away at your jungle, and you get into the part where you're cutting, and you start finding some of the vines start becoming a little more sizable. What do? Well, you break out the electric chainsaw. I like the electric chainsaw on the 8-foot pole for a reason. One, there are critters in the jungle. Snakes, feral cats. You'll find holes for things. They've dug holes. You'll find all kinds of things out there, and you really don't want to get close to them. So I use the chainsaw on the end of the 8-foot pole and sit there and start cutting back the vines and the limbs and all of these things that I don't need. Then what I do is to try and get rid of it, I take the little hand shears and basically cut up the vines and put them into the 4 trash cans. And then taken in the county where I live, you're allowed to have a 6x6x6 pile of brush. You put the springy leafy stuff on the bottom, and you throw the heavier log stuff so it presses down the pile, and they'll come and take it away each week. Well, eventually you'll get down to where the property starts to become clean, and the next thing you have to confront are trees. Some of the trees, for example, there's a picture of one on the left. Palm trees seem to be growing fine, but the old oak tree, basically the vines have choked it out and killed it. That has to be cut down. The 8-inch chainsaw is probably no longer appropriate. You can use it for limbing, things like that, but you have to get out the big guy, which is a gas-operated chainsaw. Now, keep in mind the electric, relatively cheap. $50 is for an electric chainsaw. You're going to pay $150 for a gas chainsaw. You can also rent them from the local rental place. You'll get a pretty hefty chainsaw, but since I'm doing this a week at a time and carrying the brush out to the curb, I chose to have my own chainsaw. One of the things you need when it comes to chains, you can sharpen chains. I bought a little Dremel set for sharpening the chains. It turns out the chains are like $10 or $12. It's almost more cost effective to go to Home Depot and buy replacement chains. But take and cut them up. Also, it's always good to have your little wagon for carrying things out towards the curb. Saves your back. Nothing better than wheels. Now, when you get down where your trees have been cut, what you can do is go to the local rental place and buy a small stump grinder. I'm going to say there are two kinds. The cheap one, it's the one I bought, that I got. Heavy, it's a workout. You'll know you've done something after you move around the stump grinder. They also have a self-propelled one, dream to operate. If you can afford it, grab the self-propelled one. But you can go, and this will basically just sit there and grind the stumps right into the ground, and basically gets rid of the leftover trees after you've cut them down. Now, digging through this jungle, I found all kinds of trash. Hardened bags of concrete, Tonka toys, wire shelving, folding chairs, swing set, a pool cover, big piece of plastic, pool chairs, more shingles than I can count, bottles, jugs, broken aquariums. Wonder what happened to the fish. But all of these things, you think, well, I'll just take and throw them in the garbage can. Well, the little waste management guys, this little arm they have on the truck, has a scale built into it. And if you throw a couple of these hardened bags of concrete or trash into your regular home trash can, occasionally they'll come up and say, nope, too heavy, not going to do it. And if you confront the driver, he will tell you about all the things, the rules that they follow. And so that means that you've got to limit the amount of concrete each week you stick in the bottom of your trash container. But eventually it all disappears. Sometimes you'll find things stuck in the ground that are difficult to get out. In the Florida area, it's usually a fallen palm tree from a past hurricane. They have a tendency, as they fall, they grow roots from the old trunk into the ground and start spouting new palm trees out of the top. So you sit there and you want to get rid of this. And it's like, how do you get this out of the ground? Unless you want to invest in hydraulic power, one of the things you can get, go to Harbor Freight or Blaine's Farm and Fleet and get a farm jack. The farm jack has got a large base on it. It's fairly long, as you can see. I mean, it'll jack up a tractor. It'll also take and rip a palm tree right out of the ground. All you do is you kind of dig a hole under the palm tree until you can get the jack underneath, and then you just start pumping on the long red lever, and it'll just pop that thing right out of the ground. One thing it will not work on are oak tree roots. Not a chance. Like I say, the palm trees and vines gone wild, no problem at all. Oak trees, not appropriate. Okay, finish grading your property. I chose to rent a skidster, which is a four-wheel little machine that is just wonderful. And I ran around, and the idea was I was going to smooth out push the hills into the little valleys and move the dirt around and finish cleaning up the property. Turns out there are two machines. The skidster, which I bought, which I'm familiar with. I've used these for years. They work great in Illinois. On the other hand, not so good in Florida. Reason being is the property is very, very sandy, and if you take a look, you'll see that it has a tendency to get stuck. On the other hand, there's the tracked Bobcat. Costs another $100. Basically, it was 2.5 plus delivery for the skidster. The Bobcat was 3.5 a day, and the Bobcat would have been well worth it. It does not get stuck, and it's an amazing machine. It really is. While I was there, the believe it or not, the rental company, I got the skidster stuck down to the axles, and they came out with the Bobcat, pulled it out, and I noticed that it was a tree company, and they did some finish up work for me, which included cutting a huge branch off the oak tree at the front of the property, and also smoothing the property. What they'll do is take the bucket, push the high spots into the low spots, and then tread pack it down. They run back and forth over it, and then they'll drive the front bucket flat on the ground to smooth it out. And then, of course, all of the trees, I chose not to clear the front 20 feet of the property, kind of a privacy barrier type of thing. And so all of the things that were found when we used the bucket, there was a big chunk of concrete. There was a hot water tank that we found buried. All of this was placed in the very front. Trees. There were a couple of oak trees. The machine just basically dug right up and pushed right down and piled up. Those today are totally covered by vines. You wouldn't know that anything is there. But the Bobcat is the way to take and finish up the job for the property. Okay, the project is all done. Coming to a conclusion, it cost me about $1,000 to clear this property. Overall, I estimate I saved, it seems like the going price to clear a property like this is about $5,000, so I saved $4,000. It took me about 6 months to do, and as a plus, I lost 20 pounds. So that was all worthwhile. What I did after that was I planted some grass. I was kind of picky. It had to be on sale. So it's a combination of Bahia grass, Bermuda grass, centipede grass, any of the warm weather grasses I could find that were on sale at Home Depot or Lowe's. Basically, and then the next important thing, of course, is wait for the rainy season. When it comes to growing grass, there is nothing better than hot weather and 10 inches of rain each month. Finally, I ran a low voltage line out from the house and put some lighting on some of the palm trees that comes on at night. And I've gotten really good feedback about that. Overall, it was an interesting experience. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. If you're thinking about clearing the jungle, give it a try. It's nothing else, good exercise.